Hello everyone or welcome back to another video. My name is Rupkata Bhattacharjee and you're watching my channel which is named after me because I like creativity. Now I'm actually surprised that I'm making this video 4 days after I posted my previous one, which means by the time I'll be posting this video I'll have consistently posted for 1 week and will not need to start my other nearest video by saying I'm sorry for not posting for a long time. And in today's video, with that out of the way, I wanted to talk about 3 books or new releases of 2022 that I am practically dying to get my hands on. We'll start with number 1, which is Foul Lady Fortune by Chloe Gong. Foul Lady Fortune, this video is right on time because Foul Lady Fortune's main character reveal and cover reveal was done just a few days ago, I guess 2 days or a day ago. Now, I was pretty excited for Foul Lady Fortune as soon as I finished reading Our Violent Ends. There will be no spoilers for either of those books in today's video. So, Our Violent Ends had left me surprised and craving for more as soon as I finished reading that book. I was pretty excited to read about some of the characters' journey from the point that this book ended, especially about one particular character that I wanted to read about was Kathleen Lang, who was a previous character in this book. She had a minor role in the first 2 books in the duology, and I was hoping that she would be the main character of Foul Lady Fortune, but sadly that was not the case. She is not the main character, rather her twin sister, Rosalind Lang, is the main character of this book. And I was not a fan of Rosalind in the first 2 books, as one might say. I knew a lot of people who were not big fans of Rosalind, since not only did she have a smaller role to play in the book than Kathleen herself, but also she was not that much of an engaging character and did not have that much of personality that she would need to engage readers or have readers to root for her. I guess that really plays in a mysterious part to make her seem more mysterious and make readers want to know more about her, since a very little about her personality was revealed in book 1, series 1, and I am hoping that in series 2 she'll have a lot more of a retcon personality, since I did not per se dislike her in our Violent Ends duology, but I was bored by her chapters, and also because she did not have a major role to play. She was not an interesting character to read about, in short. So I'm hoping that Chloe Gong will make her more interesting to read about in Foul Lady Fortune, though I am still a bit saddened that the character that I was rooting for is not the main character. But Kathleen Lang, as I have heard, does have point of view chapters in this book, so I'm hoping that she'll still have some scenes in the book, as well as Alyssa Montagov, who is another minor character from the first duology, also has point of view chapters in this one. So I'm hoping both these characters will also have a role to play in Foul Lady Fortune, and that I'll not be severely bored through the book. Now, talking about the cover of Foul Lady Fortune, I was pretty disappointed when seeing it. I mean, there is something so wrong with this cover that I just cannot say what it is. If you look at These Violent Delights, I have the book behind me, but I'm too lazy to go grab it. So if you look at the cover of These Violent Delights, it has something that just makes the pieces fit together. It's like a puzzle that is perfectly completed. When you look at Foul Lady Fortune, it sounds like something a 12-year-old with access to copy-paste would make. Both these covers, and compared side to side, do not look pretty good. When you look at These Violent Delights, it's so beautifully made. All the pieces have a similar color scheme. All the pieces look like, yeah, they have some aestheticness that makes them look very good. But you look at Foul Lady Fortune, the pieces do look alike, like the perfume bottle and the flowers in the background, but there is something in the cover that makes it look so poorly put together that it is infuriating. I guess it's the font. The font is definitely ugly, and the pink highlights around the fonts, those are ugly too. But I guess we still have room for improvement. Maybe when the book comes out in paperback, we'll have a better cover. Moving on from the cover, I really enjoyed Chloe Gong's fast-paced writing style in book 2 of These Violent Ends duology. Though book 1 was severely boring for me, book 2 was pretty good, of an improvement. So I'm hoping Chloe Gong will work on her pacing a bit more and try to show and not tell in Foul Lady Fortune. And if she can perfectly string together all those talents of hers that she showed in our violent ends, but not in these violent delights, then I think this Foul Lady Fortune will become one of the best sellers of this year. And I'm pretty pumped to see where it goes. I mean, the synopsis sounds pretty good. We have an immortal main character. We have fake marriage and marriage of convenience. We have spies. So all of it together sounds incredible. But if I did not have much faith in these Violent Delights book 1, comparing it to Foul Lady Fortune seems a bit, seems a bit scrutinizing the book, but seeing how these Violent Delights did not catch my attention as much as I hoped it would, I don't think Foul Lady Fortune is going to work for me. But nevertheless, I am excited to read it and see where the story goes further. Moving on, the next book, and I have the title memorized for this one because the title is an essay in itself. Babel, or the Necessity of Violence, an Arcane History of the Oxford's Translators Revolution. You see, it's an essay in itself. It's like a 30 words title. I mean, it's less than 30 obviously, but it's a huge title. And the author herself, which is R.F. Kuang, who is one of my favorite authors, says that it has 3 names: Babel, an Arcane History, Babel, or a Necessity of Violence, whatever you call it. Talking about this book, you might already know that I literally love R.F. Kuang's writing. I am a huge fan of the Poppy War series. I have the books up here, and I just threw something down there. It's not broken, so it's alright. So talking about The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. Poppy War was such a good read. The first book itself was amazing. The second book, though, worked as more of a bridge book between the first and the third book and had little to no plot. But the third book was the most delightful ending a trilogy can ever have in the history of trilogies. The points on the fantasy spectre of the book, amazing. The corruption arcs, the writing style, the characters, the passion that this book holds as a huge fantasy project, it was strung together so beautifully that I was not bored a minute reading any of these books. I mean, the first and the third book were 5 stars for me as soon as I finished reading the first 10 chapters. The second book was a pretty disappointing one, though I can brush it up to second book syndrome that all YA, all fantasy trilogy authors have. This is not YA, okay, I just misspoke right now. This is a adult fantasy book and not a young adult fantasy book. It was pretty dark, so read with caution. Now, after all that time I spent showering words of appreciation and love over R.F. Kuang, you can understand how desperate I am to read Babel by R.F. Kuang. Babel not only has the aesthetics of Dark Academia. Dark Academia is basically an internet subculture where people are focused on poetry, academics, etc., literature, or being passionate with studies, if you do call it so. So it does have the aesthetics of Dark Academia as well as a strong cast of characters that I only saw a fan art, only saw an official art of, but I'm already excited to get immersed in the book. The book's cover itself is so striking that I can't wait to have it on my shelf. It is the only thing that I want to buy in this, like the only book that I am looking forward to buy on my shelf. Other than that, I'm pretty sure that I won't be getting the physical copies of Foul Lady Fortune or the other book that's on this list. Babel in itself it feels like an ambitious project, and as R.F. Kuang wrote herself, that Babel was a book that is a step above the Poppy War. So if you love the Poppy War, this would be even better. And I, as a simple human being, only requires this book to alight in my 2022 year. I am so excited to read about this that only thing I can do is babble like a baby right now. Did you get my pun? It was a good pun. I mean, it was not a good pun, it was a bad pun, but it was an interesting pun, so I get points for that. Moving on to the third book that I am excited to read is Blood Marked by Tracy Deonn. If you don't know, Blood Marked is a sequel to Legendborn, which follows Bree Matthews, a student who has recently lost her mother and is trying to get her life back on track, but she comes across these people who run a secret society alleged to King Arthur and beat demons. You can call it Cassandra Clare's Shadowhunters meets grief, or a study of grief. You can call it Cassandra Clare's Shadowhunters meets the secret history meets exploration of grief by the author. Now, I immensely enjoyed Legendborn by Tracy Deonn. It did start off slow, but I guess the whole plot, the huge amount of plot that was boxed in this little book, the characterization, there was a huge cast of characters too, the beautiful, immersive reading that this made, the atmosphere of it was an amazing book in itself. And even though the pacing was an issue for the first half and the second half of this book, the delivery that the ending made was something that erased all the wrongs of this book to me. I'm pretty excited to read Bloodmarked. Now, I do have my concerns about Bloodmarked because originally this was supposed to be a duology, as much as I know, but it has been retconned into a trilogy, making Bloodmarked the second book in the series, meaning that this book is quite likely to fall into second book syndrome. If you don't know what second book syndrome is when a book in a trilogy is the one in the middle, like the second book, the one that is a bridge between the first book and the third book, but can also stand alone on its own. Now, most authors fail to meet one of these criteria. It's either their book is a bridge between two books with no plot in itself and only a passage of times and cut scenes, or either it's such an ambitious standalone the author cannot sum up all the plot points in the third book and has to write another book to sum it up, or either has to leave the author unsatisfied. Now, there is a huge potential in Bloodmarked that could render it either as an amazing second book or another book that has fallen prey to the second book syndrome. Now, I am pretty excited to see where it goes. While reading Legendborn, I was instantly engaged by our main character, Bree Matthews, who was not only a very strong character, but she also behaved like normal teenagers do. Since she is a 16-year-old in the book, she is ambitious, but she is also grieving for her mother. She is immature, but she also shows critical thinking skills while taking the decisions that she does throughout this book. And my only wish for this book is that Brianna is not overshadowed by her male counterparts. This book also has a potential love triangle cooking between Bree's boyfriend Nick and another dude, Selwyn Kane. Now, many of the readers do root for Selwyn Kane, but I only root for Brianna's character development. I want Brianna to shine through the book and not be overshadowed by her potential romance or her potential romantic partners. I want this book to stand on its own and focus on the main character herself. You might see a lot of books that focus on a female main character usually get overshadowed. The main characters get overshadowed by their romantic counterparts. This is something that has happened in a lot of books. The Hunger Games, Katniss Everdeen was overshadowed by her love triangle between Peter Millark and the other guy whose name I don't remember. In the Shadowhunters Series 1, Clarissa Fairchild, who was the main character, was overshadowed by her love triangle between the two dudes whose name I don't remember. And this is a huge thing that keeps on occurring in books that have a female main character and also have a love triangle. The fans, instead of focusing on the ambitious, well-written main character, they focus on the bland love interest and the love triangle that is taking place. And I, as a person, do not like love triangles at all. But Legendborn was an exemption for me because I did find myself immersed in the love triangle as well, and seeing the potentiality behind it and hoping that it would be resolved in a good way. And all in all, I hope that this book delivers, because it's been a long time since the first book came out, and it's like a 1.5 year gap since the second book is coming out, and there's still a lot of time till it comes out. Overall, I do love the cover of this book, as well as that the title of this book, Bloodmarked. The cover is pretty beautiful. I like the main characters that are on the screen. You can see Brianna Matthews. She looks as good as she did on the Legendborn cover. And there's Selwyn Kane in the background. Overall, I am pretty excited for all three of these books, and I just hope that these books meet upon my expectations. And even if they don't meet upon my every expectations, at least they're not a bad read and do not leave a bitter taste in my mouth. So these were the three books that I just cannot wait to read in 2022. If you have similar books that you're just dying to get your hands on, write in the comments. Check out the description if you want to. It has some things that you might like, you might not like. Do whatever you want. But if you did enjoy this video, hit the bell icon, subscribe button, and the like button. And that was it for today. Be safe during this pandemic. Thank you for watching and goodbye.